Deconverted Man here. Privilege. What is privilege? Do I have it? What does that mean? Is there evidence of this idea? Is there repeatable tests I can run? There a valid and sound argument? Who came up with this concept that has been thrown around here and there again of privilege? You have privilege. Check your privilege. Privilege this, privilege that. And it's not the simple definition of privilege. No. This is certain people have privilege and others don't. So where did all this come from? Well, thanks to Google, I found out. Origin of privilege idea. Now, their handy dandy AI overview told me that it has the roots in the writings of Webb Du Bois on his work of Wages of Whiteness. I thought, okay. But then I saw that, who cares about that? The modern understanding is widely discussed, has been attributed to white privilege and male privilege, a personal account by this person, Peggy McIntosh. She wrote it in 1988. Who is this gal? I don't know. I've never heard of her. Looked her up, and she's a American feminist, anti-racism activist, scholar, speaker, and senior research scientist of the Wesley Centers for Women. She's the founder of the National SEED Project on Inclusive Curriculum. She and Emily Stile co-directed SEED for its first 25 years. Well, what's SEED? Well, let's check out SEED. Wow. All right. So SEED has a thing written by Peggy, of course. This was written in 1989. So, a little bit later of a paper than the one that she originally wrote. And I thought I would start there, but I was like, wait a minute, maybe I should just start at the beginning. I actually did read through this, and that's what I wanted to make this video about. But, maybe this is a follow-up to her original writings. So, I want to give it the full analytical, robust analysis of informal logic that I'm able. And, well, I've got to start at the beginning, I think. So, SEED, what it is and who it is, you can check it out. It's nationalseedproject.org. So, you can look at them and see what they're about and whether or not they have good ideas or not. James Apperson in chat. James. I don't know. All right. Anyway, so I found Peggy's writings here, and it's 9 pages long. The other one was shorter. I don't know that I'm going to read all of this, but okay. So the first thing I've noticed right off the bat is this isn't an academic paper, and I say that with a lot of confidence because I've seen academic papers. I read a couple. I don't claim to understand them, but usually they start with abstract and then what the thing is about and blah blah. All these things. These are the sort of rigor of academics. So this is an essay, I guess. It's not really structured like an essay, though, because an essay would have a thesis statement followed by supporting paragraphs. Is that what this is, though? I mean, it doesn't read like an essay, not exactly. So I don't know what to call this. It's a paper that she wrote. I don't know who read it or why it was considered to be anything interesting, but maybe it's in there. Maybe there's some citations or documentation of her studies or what this is about. I don't know. Anyways, it's a personal account. Okay. As a skeptic, usually I kind of go personal, stuff doesn't matter, but all right, let's give it a fair shake. Through work to bring materials and perspectives from women's studies into the rest of the curriculum, I've often noticed men's unwillingness to grant they are overprivileged in their curriculum. Okay. Well, this kind of assumes that there is a thing of privilege already without establishing that that is true. So I'm hoping that you'll give an argument that is valid and sound for this at some point. I'm not sure how she noticed it or what that means. Notice doesn't seem to be a very good methodology, but okay. Uh, Even though they may grant that women are disadvantaged, denials that amount to taboos surrounding the subject of advantages that men gain from women's disadvantages. Like what exactly? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Some examples could be good here, but okay. These denials protect male privilege from being fully recognized, acknowledged, lessened, or ended. Okay, so am I to infer then that privilege is a bad thing? We don't want anybody to have it, or do we only want men to not have it? And like, can women have it and men have it? Can they share in this privilege together? Or is it something that only one can have? Women don't have it, men do have it, or women have less of it and men have too much of it. So we have to give up some because there's only so much. Like there's a bowl of privilege that we're all trying to eat from. How does any of this work? Well, I'm sure she's going to tell us, right? Thinking through unacknowledged male privilege as a phenomenon with a life of its own. Oh, you just thought through it. Okay, so no study, no methodology, just thinking through it. Okay, cool. I realize that since hierarchies in our societies are interlocking, there was most likely a phenomenon of white privilege that was similarly denied and protected, but alive and real in its efforts. Wow, you just realized that. It's amazing. Man, just realizing stuff. Yeah. As a white person, I realized I'd been taught about racism as something that puts others at a disadvantage, but had been taught not to see one of its corollary aspects, right? White privilege, which puts me at an advantage. I don't know that you were taught about racism in a way that really helped you then, perhaps. Racism, as I understand it, is people viewing negative or possibly even positive traits upon a person based on the color of their skin rather than the merits of that person or lack of merits of that person. And whether or not it puts them at a disadvantage inherently or not, I don't know. But certainly being racist towards people is illogical at the very least and dangerous at the worst. And it seems to me there are many possible ways to deal with racism if that's what you're interested in dealing with. Uh, I'm not sure that inventing the idea that there's a privilege thing is going to help anybody, but if it's a real thing, okay, maybe, I think whites are carefully taught not to recognize white privilege. Okay, so I'm a white guy. I don't remember being taught to not recognize white privilege. I don't know when that happened exactly, but I don't remember that having happened. I don't know if you're white. Let me know if you remember getting taught that. What does she mean here? Is this Is it like was it something that I was taught without knowing that I was being taught it? I don't know. How did she know that this is a thing? I don't know, but yeah, just that she thinks it, so that's good enough. You can just think stuff. You don't have to prove that it's a thing. Why would we need to prove anything? You just think it. As male, by the way, if it sounds like I'm being harsh on this, it's because I am. As males are taught not to recognize male privilege. Oh, as a male, I don't remember being not taught that. But okay, sure. I have that, I guess. And I was taught not to recognize it at some point, even though I wasn't. But all right, sure. So I begun an untutored way to ask what it is to like to have white privilege. Well, um, maybe you should have had it be tutored or scrutinized for logic, science, rationality, data, anything. Just no, I'm just gonna just ask about it. But you're asking about an idea that you've come up with, and you're not seeing if that idea is false or true. Oh, whatever. Anyways, so this paper is a partial record of my personal observations and not a scholarly analysis. Oh, that's why it doesn't have abstract. But then how did this paper become a thing that, like, this is what set off the whole chain of event of people using this idea and concept of privilege in the zeitgeist? Like, I would have honestly thought that it would have its origins in academia, not in just some paper that somebody wrote. Like, why do we care about any of this? It's like, this can't be all there is to this. There has to be some study that was done after she wrote this paper, right? Like, there's something, there's some data about this. Like, she made this paper, and then she was like, okay, now the study needs to happen. Now I need to prove that this is true. This can't just be that it's all based on this one paper, and that nothing that has come out since about privilege has no support. There has to be support, right? It's not like people just believe it, right? Right. I don't know. But this is where I'm starting. So I'm starting new. I'm starting fresh, and I'm not giving it the benefit of the doubt. I got to give it the benefit of the doubt here. I'm being way too harsh and critical on it. It's not meant to be a scholarly analysis, so it's not going to have any studies. It's not going to have any tests. It's not going to have any proof. It's not going to have anything other than their own personal observations and ideas. Okay. All right. It's based on my daily experiences within my particular circumstances. I mean, if I was reading this from a theist talking about their experiences of God, I would pretty much be done because I don't care about your personal experiences. Why should I? But it's different, I mean, okay. Anyways, I have come to see white privilege as an invisible package. You can't see something invisible. Oh, of unearned assets that I can count on cashing in each day. But about which she's a professor. I'm sorry. She's a professor. Sorry. All right. But about which I was meant to remain oblivious. How do you know that? White privilege is like an invisible, weightless knapsack of special provisions, assurances, tools, maps, guides, code books, passports, visas, clothes, compass, emergency gear, and blank checks. Okay, if you say so. All right, since I've been having trouble facing white privilege and describing its results on my life, I saw parallels here with men's reluctance to acknowledge male privilege. Man, if you just acknowledge this thing that I haven't proven yet. Okay. Only rarely will a man go beyond acknowledging that women are disadvantaged to acknowledging that men have unearned advantage. In what way? What are you talking about? Like, can you give an example? Like, or that unearned privilege has not been good for men's development as human beings. So wait, so is unearned privilege not good for my development as a human being? I mean, if there was proof of that, then I would say, yeah, we should be aware of privilege and we should seek to get rid of it somehow if it's bad for us. But that would require some sort of data that you don't have here because this is all your opinion. Oh well. Or for society's development, or that privilege systems might ever be challenged and changed. I will review here. Wait a minute. You said this wasn't academic, so you can't. How can you review anything? There's nothing to review. Or what? You haven't collected any data. There's nothing to. Several types or layers of denial that I see at work protecting and preventing awareness about entrenched male privilege. Oh, okay. Then I will draw parallels from my own experience with denials that veil the facts of white privilege. Finally, I will list 46 ordinarily and daily ways which I experience having white privilege by contrast with my African American colleagues in the same building. I gotta stop. I gotta stop. Like, did she talk to them? Did she ask them what they experienced? Like, did she interview them? Say, hey guys, gals, whatever, do you think I have this thing? Do you think that this thing is real? What do you think about this idea? Like, I don't know. I mean, I get it. It's something that she wrote, but it's like, if it was meant for her only, then it shouldn't be available to anybody, right? So, like, she put this out there. Somehow it got out in the open that I can examine it. Today I'm enjoying my privileges. Example, I am enjoying my unearned tall privilege by being able to reach my keyboard while being in a semi-reclined posture. Exactly. This can't be. I mean, I've heard people use privilege. This is why I'm doing this video. Okay, I've seen people use this term, and I've heard people use this term, and I was like, I don't know anything about this topic at all. I know nothing about this topic. Nothing. Zero, zip, zilch. I'm not a professor. I'm not an expert. I only know some informal logic and some formal logic. That's it. I'm just a skeptic. I'm just a guy. I don't know anything. Who am I to mock and ridicule this paper that she wrote? Well, I'm deconverted man. So, but like, I get that it's not an academic paper. But if it was me, I'm just saying, like, if I say, oh, look, I have an observation about reality that I've come up with, I'm going to ask other people about it. Like, I'm writing a book right now, and I'm going to have other people review it and make comments about it before I even think about publishing it, because I want feedback. I want harsh, critical feedback on it, So I guess that she didn't intend this to be published, but obviously it did get published because it's available to people. And apparently this is like how this is what the idea of privilege is based on. Is this paper? Or AI is wrong? Possibly. I mean, there's got to be more to it than this. So these are its humble origins. But I just can't understand why you wouldn't interview the other people in your building to ask the. Okay, I'm not going to keep going that long on this. I'm not going to do a full hour of reading this. I also exercise my tall privilege when I reach groceries on the top shelf. Right, like what? Yeah, you're born. You have a disposition because of your genetics to be tall. So that's going to give you certain advantages and disadvantages. I mean, you're going to be able to reach stuff that's high up, but you're also going to have back problems and leg problems, down the road maybe, So there's advantages and disadvantages to all the things that humans have. And if she was talking about that, I guess I could give it more leeway, but she's talking about white privilege and male privilege, and I don't know, but okay. Again, I'm trying to give it a steal, man. I'm not. This list is not intended to be generalizable. Others can make their own list from within their own life circumstances. Yeah, but why would you? That's not science. That's not again, she's a professor. That's not academic to like it's a journal or a blog or something like okay, whatever. Writing this paper has been difficult. Why? Wait, but it wasn't. It's not a. It's. How is this paper? It's not a paper. You said it was not an academic paper. So what kind of paper is it then? I don't understand. Help me. Somebody help me. How is this paper difficult? Despite warm receptions for the talks on which it's based. Well, warm receptions from people that I guess are in the thing that you're in, women's studies, because this is what she's in is women's studies. So I guess anything that is not, I don't know why you would talk about men and women's studies, but I guess, I don't know. Whatever. For describing white privilege makes one newly accountable. Just describing it? So I'm now newly accountable because I'm describing this. Okay. As we in women's studies work to reveal male privilege and ask men to give up some of their power. Ask men to give up some of their power. I'm gonna have to think about this. Asking what? Okay, so we men have power. I don't know what that means. It's like when I hear people like I hear theorists talk about God has power. And what do you mean by that? What does that mean? I don't understand what you mean by that. Like I'm not being obtuse or stupid. Well, I am kind of dumb, but I might be obtuse. But like, what does that mean? Like the ability to do stuff? Like what power do I have as a male that a female doesn't have? Yeah, being able to write your name as you pee, like, because you can, well, I guess you could, if you're a gal, it might be difficult to do it, but with some practice you could do it. uh it's just men have a built-in aiming mechanism, if you will. But I'm so. But why? Okay, why would I need to give up my power? Like again, like the only thing I can think is that she thinks, and I could be wrong. I don't know what she thinks, but I'm imagining because she encouraged me to do so. I'm imagining my own scenarios now. So there's like a bowl of power. And there's only so much power. Once it runs out, we're out of power, right? And everybody has to take one power from this bowl. But us men were greedy. So we took two powers from the bowl, and the women were left with one power to grab, right? So now we have to give up some of our power back into the bowl so the women can grab the power. Man, this sounds like some political philosophy that I've encountered at some point, where everybody has to share power and it's evenly distributed. It can't be based on that. Nah. Anyways, for whatever reason, we males have to give up some of their power, so that I guess women can then have that power that the men gave up. Like, can I transfer my power to you directly? How does that? I don't know how it works. So, one who writes about having white privilege must ask, having described it, what will I do to lessen or end it? Well, but why? So is privilege a bad thing? So, like, forget about it being white privilege for a moment. Like, is privilege in and of itself, whatever it is, bad to have? In that case, shouldn't we want to get rid of it in total? Or is it only, like, is it because you have too much of it that it's bad? Like, how do you quantify how much of it you have? I have questions that will not be answered in this or ever, probably. The denial of men's overprivileged state takes many forms and discussions of I can't say that word. Curriculum change work. Some claim that men must be central in their curriculum because they have done most of what's important or distinctive in life or in civilization. Do they? I don't know who claimed that. I mean, like, you just say whatever happened in history, I guess, if you're studying history or mathematics or whatever it is you're looking at. Like, whoever made the contribution, regardless of race, gender, sex, whatever, that's who gets mentioned. I guess lots of men have done stuff and not enough women, maybe? Or is it that women aren't getting more focus or something like that? Like, I don't know what the, like, I don't know that they, I don't, I don't know. I don't know what she's, I don't know. Because they have done most with it. Okay. Some recognize sexism in the curriculum, but deny that it makes male students seem unduly important in life. Well, why would that be bad? Like, is it bad to be important in life or make me feel like I'm important unless I am important? I don't know. Others agree that certain individual thinkers are male oriented. What is that? But deny that there is any systematic tendency in disciplinary frameworks or epistemology to overempower men as a group. Okay, whatever. Whatever. Just words. These men who do not grant that male privilege takes institutionalized and embedded forms are still likely to deny that male hegemony has opened doors for them personally. So if you deny it, you're just wrong. I love it. It's like presuppositionalism. If you deny it, you're just wrong. You're automatically wrong. It exists, and if you deny it, that's just proof that it exists. Why am I looking at this? Why did I think this was a good idea to try to understand? It's all my privilege that I have, apparently. I don't know any. Okay, well, I'm not going to go over. Okay, whatever. Virtually all men deny that male over-reward alone can explain men's centrality in all the inner sanctums of our most powerful institutions. So the reason why men are central is because they were over-rewarded by who? Other men? Like, what? How? Oh, well. Moreover, those few who will acknowledge that male privilege systems have overempowered them usually end up doubting that we could dismantle these privilege systems. Right. So we want to get rid of this system. Okay, got it. Okay, get rid of the power system. But then wouldn't that mean that there would be no privilege system for anybody to take advantage of? Or is it just get rid of male privilege and or white privilege, and then everybody else can get that privilege that they gave up? Like, because now it's up for grabs. Because there's not enough privilege to go around, I guess. Or some, like, okay. They say, they may say they will work to improve women's study status in the society or the university, but they can't or won't support the idea of lessening men's. Okay, so it's really important to lessen men's status in society and in the university. Like, that's really important to do because it is. Just so if you're a male and you're in a university and you have a position of power, you should step down so that a woman can step up. Just get out of the way. You're in the way. Get rid of your power. And then we should work to lessen men's privilege, whatever that means, in other ways in society and the university. But we'll focus on the university. That's for sure. I don't know. Yeah. because again, there's not enough privilege to go around. There's not enough power to go around, or something. I guess I don't know. Anyways, in why does he use this word I can't say? Whatever that word, you know what this word is. How do you say this? Sure, curricular. I know. Course of study. Whatever. I'm just going to say study. In the study terms, this is the point which they say they regret they cannot use any of the interesting new scholarship on women because the syllabus is full. Well, I mean, it's the syllabus. What? Huh? They do? Do you have like an example of anybody saying that at all, or is this just like, I don't know? When the talk turns to giving men less cultural room, even the most thoughtful and fair-minded of the men I know will tend to reflect or fall back on conservative assumptions about the inevitability of present gender relations and distributions of power, calling on precedent or social biology and physiobiology to demonstrate that male dominance is natural and follows inevitably from evolutionary pressures. Others resort to arguments from experience, like you are, or religion or social responsibility or wishing and dreaming. So again, if you argue against these ideas as a man, you're just wrong. That's what I get from that. If you argue against these ideas and you're a man, you're wrong. Because, you have all this privilege. You don't recognize that privilege. You have to recognize that you have this thing that I haven't proven in any way, shape, or form. And then once you recognize that you have it, then you have to give it up somehow. I'm not sure how you do that, but you need to do that. This paper should be called Victimhood or the Sisterhood Victimhood. Yeah, I mean, I get the feeling like she wasn't happy doing whatever she was doing in academia, maybe. I don't know. Like, I'm trying not to, like, read between the lines, like, figure her out as a person. I don't know where this is coming from. I don't understand how you can get to these conclusions without any evidence at all. This is just she just came up with this stuff, I guess. All right. After I realized, she just realized, you can just do that. I just realized a thing. I realized today that I'm God. I didn't know that you knew that we could do that, but you can just realize things, and that makes them true. Okay. Through faculty development work in women's studies, the extent to which men work from a base of unacknowledged privilege, I understood that much of their oppressiveness was unconscious. How? Then I remembered the frequent changes from women of color that white women who they encounter are oppressive, or charges, sorry, not changes. I begin to understand why we are justly seen as oppressive, even when we don't see ourselves that way. At the very least, obliviousness of one's privileged state can make a person or group irritating to be with. You're irritating to be with. I begin to count the ways in which I can enjoy unearned skin privilege and then be conditioned into oblivion about its existence. Unable to see that it put me ahead in a way, or put my people ahead, over rewarding us, and yet also paradoxically damaging us, or that it could or should be changed. This is a professor. A professor wrote this. Oh, where's the logic? Where's the evidence? Where's anything? But I'm laughing at it because I'm white, obviously. I mean, again, if I deny it, then it's true. My schooling gave me no training in seeing myself as an oppressor. Maybe because you're not. did you ever consider that? Like maybe your schooling didn't do that because you're not that. Did you ever consider that this idea is completely incoherent and wrong? Ah. Oh well, whatever. James. There are times when a man gets unfair advantage, and other times when a woman gets an unfair advantage. Sometimes tall people, pretty people, smart people, Christians, Muslims, etc. Yeah, I don't know, and I'm not even sure how you would what methodology could we possibly propose that would allow us to know when someone is gaining an unfair advantage? Like what makes it unfair? That seems rather arbitrary and subjective. There's no is there a logical grounding for it, you know? So I don't know if we averaged out the let's say that we wanted to focus on the beauty of people or something like this, and we averaged out all the faces to say what the most average face is, and that certain faces are found to be more attractive than others. A certain bell curve exists for all that. Those studies have been done. We take that study and we go, okay, uh, you've been granted this uh, just by virtue of you having this certain face, you didn't. Let's ignore the fact that people could shape their faces and put makeup on. Let's just say that we're in a realm of just your naked face alone, um, and you're not allowed to alter it or whatever for purposes of this experiment. So we say anyone that has these features by birth, triangular chin, let's say that for whatever reason is favored more often than anything else. That all the normies that don't have a triangular chin, then you have an unfair advantage. Well, what makes it unfair? I could see you saying it's unfair if like you know, got plastic surgery. And hey, that's unfair. You're cheating. You're cheating to get that. But you didn't do anything to earn it, right? Yeah, I was just born that way. Yeah, so I can't help that I was born a certain way. It's like, isn't racism the whole thing of that you're judged on the color of your skin as being X thing, whether that's good or bad? Usually it's negative, but it can be positive too, stereotypes, Jewish people make money, or always doctors and lawyers, or something. That's like a positive stereotype that, well, the Jew is, I guess, not really a race as much as it is a religion, but it could be both. So I don't know. But yeah, so I can't even start to imagine how you would possibly quantify what would be unfair. uh, yeah, okay. Family courts. Yeah, mothers are greatly favored because of cultural dispositions. Yeah. Uh, Average height, skinny people much easier to find clothes a local store compared to tall and overweight people. Yeah, well, yeah, because there's less of an incentive to sell to certain body types. So you're going to have less clothes because you sell them less often, and you know there were specialty stores, big and tall, uh, that did that specialized in that and found success for a while at any rate. I don't know if it's still around, but yeah, there it's hard to find big shoes, um, and that's but I mean, like, it's just I don't know what to I don't know. Whatever. Okay, I think I'm gonna. I don't know. Mm, I don't know when I'm gonna stop reading this and commenting on it. But yeah, James, you have some good insights as well. I mean, uh, let's see. Schooling gave me no training to see myself as an oppressor, as an unfairly advantaged person, or as a participant in a damaged culture. Okay. I was taught to see myself as an individual whose moral state depended on her individual moral will. Well, that's you got taught morals and ethics? Okay. At school, we were not taught about slavery in any depth. Well, that sucks. Uh, we had we learned about it, but I think that actually the most in-depth information about slavery I ever got was watching Roots, which you know, we had to watch. Um, and other race stuff. We uh, read about the Rodney King, or because he got beat up, attacked by those police when I was younger, and then I remember us talking about it later in school. Um, like when I was older in school, I mean, not like later that day per se, but uh, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. So we definitely talked about slavery. I don't know how much depth there was to it or how much detail there was on it. Um, but I had a very different schooling than many people. It was a very different type of school. I don't really remember that much from it, so I don't know. But if she wasn't taught about slavery, well, that's then their school was bad, I guess. I mean that some schools aren't very good, and that's a different problem that we can maybe fix. But I don't know that. Okay, anyways, we were not taught to see slaveholders as damaged people. The slaveholder is a damaged person. Interesting idea. Um, huh. So slaveholder is a damaged person because they believe that owning slaves is okay. That's what makes them a damaged person, I guess. I don't know. Slaves were seen only as the only group at risk of being dehumanized. My school followed the pattern which Elizabeth Menich has pointed out. I don't know who that is. Whites are taught to think of their lives as morally neutral, normative, and average, and also ideal. Ideal. I don't remember being taught to think that way. So when we work to benefit others, this is seen as work that will allow them to be more like us. I think many of us know how obnoxious this attitude can be in men. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just want to pat her on the head now and say, "It's okay. It's okay, honey. It's okay there, honey buns. It'll be okay." I just want to like super mega like annoy her now. All right, I've had enough of this for now. That's page 2. It keeps going. Oh, wait, no, there's a list. Oh, I got to get to this list. No, I changed my mind. On the other one that I read on the seed page, there was a list that I read through that I mocked at every turn, and she has this list here. So I guess that paper is an update to this paper. I got to read this list, guys and girls and robots, because it's great. It's fantastic, and it proves everything that needs to be proven. So I have to read this. I have to keep reading until I'm almost there. It's just one paragraph. Okay, let's just read the paragraph. No commentary. Then I'll read the list. Then lots of commentary. Men get lots of less compensation in society because the man-up attitude towards men, unfair stereotypes about what counts as respectable men. I mean, broadly, perhaps. I don't know how true that is. I mean, so as a result, men have much higher rates of suicide. I know you said unalive. I refuse to. I don't know why we're saying this lately. The unaliving thing. I don't see the value in that censorship. But I mean, you're welcome to write however you want. Uh, I'm like suicide. Let's just call it what it is. I don't know. George Carlin. Anyways, even when it comes to career money, the older man gets, the more money he needs or loses respect to society. especially with women. Possibly, I don't know. Again, it might be true in certain areas and not true in others. It's hard to say, right? Without like a study at hand, I don't know how true those ideas you're expressing are, James. But um, I mean, there's unfairness. There's unfairness to go around. I guess I would say that for sure. Like whether you're a man or woman, but I could see that trying to steel man this as much as I can. It's like uh, there are men tend to be stronger, you know, so there's that, and then of course there is the evolutionary fact that men were the hunters, broadly speaking, and women were the caretakers and the gatherers. And so since we evolved out of that culture's still in us to some degree, genetically, if nothing else. And uh I guess we built our societies to some degree to match what we understood from back then. In the 50s, it was like, well, women stay at home, men go to work. That was like, whether that was true everywhere or not, I don't know, but it was true a lot of places in America. And it was like promoted as being the way that things are. And, when we're like, hey, we want to work too, it's like, okay, go ahead, nobody's stopping you. Like, but, there was some inherent bias against it, and there still is. As a kid, if I'm going to reflect on my own personal life or whatever, uh, I remember my mom being told that she was overqualified for job that she was applying for. Multiple times she was told this. She had a BA in English, which I don't think she was applying for, like, retail or whatever. I'm like, the fact that she has a BA in English means absolutely nothing for this job. Like, it doesn't matter. That doesn't make you overqualified for that. How could you ever be overqualified for anything? What the hell does that mean? But I think that they said that because they didn't want to hire her. And they couldn't tell her the real reason they weren't hiring her, which I suspect, but I could be wrong. I looked around. I remember looking around and saying, all these people here are younger than my mom. Maybe they're not hiring her because of her age. That could be the real reason. And it's really hard to prove age discrimination. But they had women working there, so it wasn't that she was a woman, but it might have been her age that, they were thinking, no, you're not going to be able to keep up with the other people. But then this one place gave her the chance and she proved herself. She could work just as hard as anyone else. And, she became a very valued employee, and, went up some ranks and whatnot. Then the place, like, died due to financial reasons that weren't her fault or anything. Just the whole company went under or whatever. But it's like it's rough out there and it's unfair. Anyway, I oh yeah. I get to enjoy the male privilege of being stereotyped in a society more dangerous than a bear in the woods. Yeah, that's up other men that do bad things. Yeah, the whole bear in the woods thing. Oh man, that. I thought about covering that. I thought I did. I don't remember now if I did or didn't. So the meme video that got super popular, where they asked people if you'd rather be with a bear in the woods alone or a man in the woods alone, and like everybody but like one person says bear, and they're all women. I get, and I said, my comment, either online or offline, I don't remember now what I did, but was, we don't know that this is even real, because they're showing us a video of different people saying this thing. We don't know that they were told to say that thing. They could have been told to say that. I'll pay you $20 to say I'd rather be with a bear in the woods alone. Okay, sure, I'll take it. They don't have to be actors, just be paid or asked to do it. Also, they could have interviewed hundreds of people, but only kept the ones that said bear and discarded the ones that said man. So this is not a true polling that they did in these videos, but because it got viral, then it got talked about. But what wasn't talked about was the fact that there's no reason to believe those videos in the first place. Anyways, I think I did cover that at some point, but whatever. Anyways, I got to read this paragraph. I got to read this. After frustration with men who would not recognize male privilege, just recognize that privilege, damn it, I decided to try to work on myself, at least by identifying uh, some of the daily effects of white privilege in my life. It's crude work at this stage, but I will give here a list of special circumstances and conditions I experienced that I did not earn, but that have been made to feel are mine by birth, by citizenship, and by virtue of being a contentious, law abiding, quote, normal person. Well, I'll assuage her fears. You're not normal there, buddy. Uh, of goodwill. I have chosen these conditions that I think my case attached somewhat more to skin color privilege than to class, religion, ethnic status, or geographical location. All those other privileging factors are intrinsically intertwined. Yeah, so how could you how could you identify anything then? As far as I can see, my Afro-American coworkers, friends, and acquaintances with whom I've come into daily or frequent contact in this particular time, place, and line of work cannot count on most of these conditions. So again, no interview of any of those people. Now they all work like they're co-workers, right? So they at least have the privilege of working where you work in a university, right? That's something. That's not nothing. And I'm sure they had to work hard to get that privilege, that power, that ability, that position. Just as you did. You had to do something to get to the place of being in a university where anybody would pay any attention to you at all in the first place. Whether that's earned or not, well, you earned it. You did the work. You did something, got the degrees or whatever you needed to do, and they hired you as to do whatever. So, but why didn't she ask them? Do you experience these things? Why didn't she ask them? She didn't, as far as I can tell. So here's just a list that she came up with. But if it's true that she has a white, how? Okay, whatever. Anyway, so this is the list. Here we go. It's gonna get great. Here we go. So these are things that her Afro-American coworkers can't necessarily do these things. They can't count on them. Okay, so they might be able to do it, but they can't count on it. All right. So I can, if I wish, arrange to be in the company of people of my race most of the time. Yeah. So again, black people, they just can't do this. It's not done. Not done by black people. Can't do it. Can't count on that. All right. Cool. I can avoid spending time with people whom I was trained to mistrust and who have learned to mistrust my kind or me. Oh, I guess that's the origin of the so-called safe spaces in colleges where people can go. There's a gay one and there's a black one, and you can go there and you can be away from all non-gays and non-blacks because you have a place of your own where you can be away from those people. Now, there's no white location like that because everywhere is the white location like that. And Brent Weinstein and his wife, I can't remember her name, they were tossed out of Evergreen College and their university professorships that they had because they refused to leave campus on a no white day that they had. Anyways, yeah, because that makes sense. We want to make sure segregation is a thing again. It's really important to have those places. Anyways, but you can't do that as a black person. You can't avoid being you can't you can't count on it. If I should need to move, I can be pretty sure of renting or purchasing housing in an area which I can afford and which I would want to live. I would see that more of a thing of your money than your race, but sure. I can be by the way, if you're really poor, like, okay, in California, uh, there's city of Martinez that was getting slowly cleaned up, but it had become kind of problemish. And it had a marina that was very wealthy area, and then it had the just the failing buildings and poor architecture and people that were living very cheaply, and so it was attracting certain people, and so they were the city was slowly building, getting rid of these places and building up new places to get in a certain type of people that could afford that and make crime less a thing, because poverty is tied very closely to crime for lots of reasons. So in Pittsburgh, there were places that if you were poor, you could go live there, but if you happened to be white, you couldn't go live there because no one there was white, and you would be killed as a white person going into that area. I knew that as a kid. Like, you don't go there. You don't go anywhere near these areas. You just don't. But I didn't live in Martinez, so it wasn't really that much of a thing, but I was aware that it existed. So, what is that? Does that blow away her idea? Because if I don't have enough money, I, now if I was stuck in Martinez, then what? Then you're homeless, right? Or I don't know. Anyways, whatever. I can be reasonably sure that my neighbors in such a location will be neutral or pleasant to me. I mean, I can't be sure that my neighbors will be neutral or pleasant to me. But again, that seems like more money stuff than race stuff. I can go shopping alone most of the time, fairly well assured that I will not be followed or harassed by store detectives. Uh, I could turn on the television or open the front page of the paper and see people of my race widely and positively represented. Well, that's kind of outdated now, because but there was BET, there was Black Entertainment Television. I remember that being a thing in the 80s and 90s. So it's not like it didn't exist at all. Oh well. I was told about my national heritage or civilization. I am shown that people my color made it what it is. Okay. I can be sure that my children, wouldn't that be true of, like, if you go to Japan, right? Like, I would see that Japanese people would made their civilization, not, and they're different color than me. And if I cared about that at all, then I guess they have privilege and I don't. I don't know. Anyways, I can be sure that my children will be given study materials that testify to the existence of their race. Yes, because if you're black, you won't be given materials that testify to the existence of your race. The fuck? If I want to, I can be pretty sure of finding a publisher for this piece on white privilege. So, what? Black people can't be sure that when they write a book that they'll get a publisher? Maybe in the 80s, but I don't think so. No, I'm pretty sure there was black writers in the 80s. I don't know. Could be wrong. Maybe there was no black writers in the 80s. I can be fairly sure of having my voice heard in a group which I'm the only member of my race. So I remember all the times that Obama, gave speeches, um, that he wasn't heard when it was all white people around him. Nobody could hear him because that's just how that works, I guess. Anyways, I could be casual about whether or not to listen to another woman's voice in a group in which she is the only member of her race. I can be casual about whether or not to listen to another woman's voice. I don't even understand what that is. What do you mean? What is that? Why how is that like? So if you're a black woman and you ignore another black woman, uh, is that bad? But you're supposed to listen to her if you're a black woman. You have to listen. I don't know. What if that's a cultural thing in the for like if I don't know if black has a culture in and of itself, but like certain black people have a culture. So African American, whatever, that might have a culture. So if it's in their culture to that women are supposed to pay attention to women, but you see this as an unearned privilege, you're just ignoring their culture at that point. Then that's why some study might have been good to do, not just come up with shit and write it down. Oh well, whatever. What else? This list keeps going. This is better than the 613 commandments. I could go into a bookshop and count on finding the writing of my race represented, into a supermarket and find the staple foods that fit within my cultural traditions, into a hairdresser's shop and find someone who can deal with my hair. Yeah, I mean, the Asian part of the food market's really small, and I don't know. I guess there isn't an African American section or whatever. I mean, like, I, I but this applies to other people as well, like Jewish people. Like, it's really hard for Jewish people to find kosher food. Like, I'm just like, I get what you're saying, I do, but at the same time, like, I and then hairdressers. Well, it depends what hairdressers you go to. That in the 80s that might have been a bigger deal than it is now. Uh, but I think that hairdressers, are trained to deal with multiple types of hair these days. But it depends. I mean, they might. I don't know. But whether I use checks, credit cards, or cash, I can count on my skin color not to work against the appearance that I am financially reliable. Oh God. Okay. All right. I can't. I did go for an hour. God damn it! I didn't want to. There's more. There's more on this list. There's 46 things on this list. I'm at 13. No, I mean, I think you guys, girls and robots, get the point. I can't keep reading, but and I will on my own in my own private time, if nothing else, to amuse myself. Um, so I've never taken women's studies. I don't think I would, but if it's this, this is if this is the sort of thing that a professor produces, I'm afraid to know what the students produce. I'm no academic, but if when I was in community college, I wrote some essays, and the teacher was very odd, but he focused mostly on teaching us critical analysis more than how to write an essay per se. And he called my writing creative, and thought that I was really put a lot into it in that way. Um, and I wanted to have more available to me to be able to write the essay at the end, but he said like we could only bring in a piece of paper that had one line written on it. So I wrote down the one reference to whatever it was I had that I wanted to include in the essay. I wanted to have a lot of references. But anyways, so like he really scrutinized what we wrote and how we wrote it, and he gave me really good feedback on it, even though he said it was creative. He said, there was some things I could have fleshed out more or focused on more or whatever. And it was like, yeah. Um, So I'm just trying to imagine being in a classroom with somebody not like that. And the other classes I took were all well run. They knew, the teacher knew what they were talking about. They explained it in ways that were coherent. Things made sense. We weren't told to do nonsense stuff. But everything I did was pretty practical. I did computer stuff and I did EMT stuff, so all that's practical. So I guess I've never been in the only well, I took drama, but all that was practical too of what you need to do drama. So I've never experienced this side of academia, thankfully, I guess. I'm a jaded guy. I'm 46. I might be out of touch completely. I've never taken a women's study, but based on this alone, if I was going to conclude anything, it would be this person has come up with all sorts of wild speculations with zero grounding in objective anything. This is all based on her personal observations, her beliefs, her feelings, her desire to feel important in an area where clearly she doesn't feel that she's gotten the recognition that she feels like she should be getting. Maybe because women's studies isn't really even an academic thing in the first place, or shouldn't be. I am reminded of one class I did take in community college when I was a teenager, because I went to college when I was a teenager, because I'm awesome like that. It's not that. It's not that impressive, but called the metaphysics of psychology. And this gal comes in and she does the leaning thing where you lean against somebody and then you fall over, and oh, that means something. And she did the zip up thing where you hold out your arms and then you push down the arms and you zip the down them, and then they push the arms down, they go down real easy, and then they come back. And you can swing this sheen in a circle, and we're gonna talk about auras, and we're gonna talk about this and that. And everything was mystical and magical in her view. And I'm like, this is a big giant sack of bullshit. But because I was a believer back then, I thought it was all evil and demonic, so I dropped out of it because of that. But I also thought it was bullshit because I knew how some of that trick worked. Even at the time, I'm like, I can do that chain thing. That's easy. That's like, this is just a trick of what your fingers can do. That's not magic. That's not what, it's just like, why would this class even exist in school? Why would the college have this gal teach rubbish? I don't know, but they do offer that. So maybe there's some precedent in saying to colleges and universities or whatever that, look, you guys can only teach things that are real based on something substantive and that matters. But somebody somewhere felt that women's studies was a thing that you could do, and then it became a class. And this is how this is from a professor of women's studies. I hope that there's better stuff out there than this. It's her writing. There's no logic to it. There's no science to it. There's no anything to it. It's just stuff that she thinks is true. How did anything get based on this? I don't understand. If I try, I can steel man this to some degree of like, there's certain things in life that come easier for some people than others. I've never had to deal with racism, but I have had to deal with insults. As a kid, we did that all the time in my school. But again, I had a very different school than most people, so but I don't like banking on my personal experiences to draw conclusions, and that's all she's doing here. She didn't interview anybody, didn't do any studies to find out any of this true. It's just assumed to be true. And this notion of you have to give up power, you have to Why? Why would you ever give it up? Why would it be a bad thing to have it? Whether it's earned or given to you, who cares? It's yours. Why would you ever give it up? And there's not like there's a limited power to go around. There's plenty of power for everybody, right? But it seems like I don't have the recognition I want, so I'm going to tear down other people, and that will make me feel better. Maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. Whew. Well, I'm glad I dived into this subject. I'm sure that nobody will get upset at me about, right? Like, I'm not going to get negative comments about not understanding this stuff, right? I'm not going to be told that I'm a racist or manist or whatever, right? Like, nobody's going to get upset at me for examining privilege and mocking it. But this is just the beginning. This is just an intro. This is just a thing that she wrote. So I'm sure that somebody that wants to actually provide me a valid and sound argument, they could just email me, deconvertedman1@gmail.com, the academic papers that prove that this exists using data, studies, etc. I'm sure that exists, right? I don't know that I'm going to look for it myself, but it's out there, probably. Maybe I will look for it. And if I find anything, I'll talk about it. Maybe. I don't know. Or this might be a one-off. I don't know. All right. Well, I hope that you found that as interesting as I did. What are your thoughts about anything that she wrote? Or was I being too harsh on her? I mean, again, I'm trying to steel man this, but I don't understand how this could be anything that was ever a paper in academia that isn't an academic paper. So who did she submit this to, and why? What was the grade on it? Like, I don't know. But as far as logic, no, it's illogical to its core. There's no data or anything, so I have to be skeptical of the conclusion. I said the thing that I can say about this. There wasn't even an argument in this paper, no syllogism at all. So that's it. It's cooked. And even in an essay format, there was no real thesis statement, so I can't analyze it like an essay either. So it doesn't pass my test. It doesn't have any empirical evidence, repeatable test, or valid and sound argument, and so I have to be skeptical of its conclusions. But if somebody somewhere wants to prove that male privilege and or white privilege is a real thing, they can email me the data that proves that, or the valid and sound argument that shows that or indicates that, and I will look into it and analyze that next. And I could have done religion again, but I found this, and so I did. I talked about this, and maybe I shouldn't have. Oh well, what's the worst could happen? We'll find out. Hey James, don't forget to poke me back. I gotta poke James on the email thing. Hey James, we're gonna do a thing, James. All right, I should end now. I'm done talking. I'm done with my privilege. All my privilege has now been consumed. Hopefully, I will give up my privilege somehow. I don't know how to do that, but I want to give it to somebody else because it's limited, right? I guess. Like, I don't know. I don't know how that works. All right. Until next time, be skeptical, and I hope you don't hate me for this video. I mean, I don't know. Maybe like, oh my god. I don't know. We'll see. Right. Until next time, be skeptical, and after that, stay skeptical.